It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, in the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
What's up, Vault Dwellers? Dan here, and tonight we're going to be digging into the spooky side of Frankenstein. This is the shadowy castles, thunderclaps over laboratories, and actors giving 110% while standing on cardboard sets. We're diving into the films that leaned closer to Mary Shelley's nightmare, whether Universal classics or Hammer's blood-soaked reinventions. So grab a torch, form a mob, and don't trip on the fog machine. We're counting down 13 traditional Frankenstein horror movies that define the monster's darker legacy.
What is happening? Meet my monster.
Roger Corman came out of semi-retirement to mash up Mary Kelly with time travel sci-fi, and the results feel like classic literature just crashed a late 80s tech expo. John Hurt plays a weapons scientist whose prototype rips a hole in reality, flinging him into early 19th century Switzerland, where Dr. Frankenstein is already deep into corpse quilting. Hurt meets Mary Shelley herself, played by Bridget Fonda, and debates affects by candlelight, and then jumps back into his talking supercar to chase a very angry creature across the alpine fog. Its heady ideas are just jammed into a pulp adventure, meaning free will versus consequences, myth versus machinery. The set swings between handsome period drama and neon lap gear, and Corman stages the final like a Gothic opera with some circuit boards. Not all the features ages gracefully, but the ambition is just so charming. If you want a literate what if that still throws some sparks, this oddball, it earns its place in the crypt.
Stop that. Stop that.
Jesus Franco, he was a master of Euro trash horror. But Dracula, Contra, Frankenstein, it kind of veers closer to Gothic melodrama than his usual sleaze. This Spanish-German co-production throws the big hitters, Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster, into a moody castle setting with plenty of thunder, blood, and a whole bunch of fog. The monster here is more of a henchman than a star, but the Gothic trappings, they feel right at home. Franco fills the film with candlelight crypts and just brooding atmosphere. Although the pacing, it kind of lumbers like the creature itself. Paul Naschy steals the show as the tragic Wolfman, adding gravitas where the monster makeup falters. Cult fans, they see this one as a fascinating Euro spin on the Monster Mash concept. It's serious enough to qualify as Gothic, but just weird enough to sit comfortably in late-night October marathons. It's not perfect, but it's undeniably atmospheric.
Again. Yes. He lives.
Apparently, Hammer Studios wasn't content with just resurrecting the creature, so they wanted to reinvent him instead. Frankenstein created woman, this shifts the focus from flesh to the soul, as Peter Cushing's Baron Frankenstein experiments with transferring a murdered man's soul into the body of his lover. The twist? Said lover uses her new life to seek bloody revenge. This film feels less like a monster rampage and just more like a Gothic revenge tragedy. Cushing is, as always, like icy perfection as the Baron. More villain than hero.
What did you say?
The creature itself, it isn't a stitched corpse, but a philosophical experiment on identity and morality. Critics, they really didn't know what to make of this one, but cult fans, they appreciate Hammer's boldness here. And filled with that lush Hammer atmosphere, you know, crimson blood, candlelight sets, and just a sense of dread that lingers long after.
Wake up.
Sorry! You need to eat yourself! Get hold of him!
After two very stylish entries, Hammer hit a creative reset with the Evil of Frankenstein. They cut ties with Universal and went back to the basics, and they even redesigned the monster to resemble Jack Pierce's iconic flat-headed version. The result feels like Hammer trying to imitate Universal instead of carving their own bloody path here. That said, there's still plenty to love. Peter Cushing once again chews scenery as the obsessive Baron, with Freddie Francis bringing Gothic flair to the camera work. The monster, he's played by Kiwi Kingston. He's lumbering and tragic, echoing Karloff's silent grandeur, but without the same, spark. While it doesn't reach the heights of Curse of Frankenstein, it's an important part of the Hammer cycle. Cult fans, they absolutely appreciated that Hammer's attempt to reconcile old school horror with your signature blood-soaked Gothic style. By the mid-1940s, Universal had turned its monsters basically into the Avengers of horror. House of Frankenstein throws Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster into a single film, while Boris Karloff, kinda ironically, he's not the monster, but he's the mad doctor orchestrating the chaos. This film is just pure monster mayhem. The plot, it's kinda thin, but really, who cares? Just watching the icons collide in a Gothic castle, that's exactly what the fans wanted. The monster, played by Glenn Strange, it really doesn't get much to do in this one, but his presence looms over the story, kinda like a stitched-up shadow. It's more popcorn fun than Gothic dread, but for Universal monster buffs, this one's essential. Cult fans love it for the sheer audacity, just cramming legends into one cinematic coffin and slamming the lids shut. Italian horror really wasn't afraid to get weird. And Lady Frankenstein, we'll call this Exhibit A.
I may be a woman, but I am also a doctor. Death is nothing new to me.
This is not death, Tanya. This is legalized murder.
Rosalba Neri plays the Baron's daughter, who continues his experiments after his death. But unlike her father, she has more in her mind than science. Like creating a creature, who doubles as her ideal lover. This one straddles the line between Gothic horror and just plain old Euro trash sleaze. On one hand, it's moody, atmospheric, and filled with classic Frankenstein tropes. You know, grave robbing, lightning storms, the shambling monster. But on the other hand, it dives headfirst into exploitation with nudity, melodrama, and just a deeply bizarre love triangle involving some corpses.
Tonight. Tonight it will be here.
Charles.
And cult fans, they just treasure it for that exact reason. It's a Gothic story just pushed to lurid extremes, equal parts serious and scandalous. It's the kind of Frankenstein movie that could only come from the 1970s Europe.
You're alive. I'm here. I'm here.
I never thought about it like that. Yeah. Hey, I want you to see a picture of my kid. I've got it right here. Look out!
Here's a Frankenstein tale, just without the name. Hands of a Stranger reimagines the myth through science gone wrong. After a pianist loses his hands in an accident, a surgeon grafts new ones on from a murder victim. But soon, the hands drive them into some madness and a little bit of violence. It's low budget, kinda talky, but there's something compelling in the psychological horror of it all. Instead of the stitched up corpse, we get a metaphor for identity, guilt, and the fear of losing control of your own body. The Gothic roots are pretty clear with this one. You know, tampering with nature comes at a cost. An obsession, it destroys lives. Cult audiences dig it for the forgotten riff on Frankenstein themes. It's not flashy, but it's moody and unsettling, and a reminder that the monster doesn't always need bolts in his neck to be terrifying. In 1942, Universal was just cranking out Frankenstein sequels, kind of like an assembly line of monsters. The Ghost of Frankenstein has Bela Lugosi reprising Igor, manipulating events to transplant his brain into the monster's body. Lon Chaney Jr., he steps in as the role of the creature, giving him a heavier, more tragic presence. The Gothic atmosphere is intact. You've got your foggy graveyards, torch-wielding mobs, and shadowy laboratories. The plot stretches credibility, but the sheer theatricality, it makes it fun. Chaney lacks Karloff's nuance, but he brings brute strength to the role. For cult fans, they say it's a solid slice of Universal horror, less iconic than the earlier films, but just full of the Gothic trappings that made the series so influential.
Don't touch him, Frankenstein! He's my friend. I should kill you, Frankenstein. But after all, your father gave me life.
The things he'd say to me.
What did he say?
What the hell are you doing in the bathroom day and night? Why don't you get out of there? Give someone else a chance.
I know, it's a comedy. But it's arguably the funniest in horror history. And Brooks treats the legacy with just a museum curator respect while still lampooning every candlestick. This was shot in luminous black and white with vintage lenses and the original lab props. It looks like a lost Universal entry where just everyone learned impeccable timing. Gene Wilder's tightly wound Frederick. He tries so hard not to be his grandfather, but destiny, that becomes the punchline. Peter Boyle's monster shifts from terrifying silhouette to a soft shoe showman, putting on the Ritz. While Marty Feldman, he just steals entire reels by looking sideways.
Stop that.
What makes it sing isn't just the gags, it's how deeply it understands the template. It's got the villagers, the mist, violins, and hubris, like the blind hermit, the brain mix-up, the thunderous unveil, just all created with precision and a wink. If the universal cycle is scripture, this is the joyous commentary that keeps it alive for new disciples every October.
Into a 7.5-foot long, 54-inch wide gorilla! Is that what you're telling me? Wait.
This was Universal's first true monster mash, bringing two icons together in just one film. Lon Chaney Jr., he reprises his role as the Wolfman, while Bela Lugosi dons the flat top as the Frankenstein's monster. The story follows Larry Talbot's search for a cure, which inevitably leads him to a clash with the creature. The highlight, it's the final battle. Monsters just crashing through laboratories as villagers blow the dam, just flooding everything in Gothic chaos. Lugosi's monster was hampered by edits, and that cut his dialogue a bit, but the imagery remains unforgettable. Cult fans see this as the template for every monster crossover that followed.
And you really believe that you can bring life to the dead?
That body is not dead. It has never lived. I created it. I made it with my own hands from the bodies I took from graves, from the gallows, anywhere.
This is where cinematic horror was reborn. James Whale's Frankenstein. It isn't just a great horror film. It's the foundation of the genre. Boris Karloff's performance as the monster, it remains just unmatched. He was tragic and terrifying. And somehow sympathetic, just all at once. From the stitched brow to the lumbering walk, it's the image burned into cultural memory. The sets are expressions like nightmares, shadowy castles, graveyards, and just laboratories buzzing with electricity. Whale brought style and a streak of dark humor, elevating what could have been pulp into fine art. Every horror film that followed owes it a debt. Cult fans don't just rewatch it, they revere it. It's the lightning bolt that brought the genre to life.
Friend?
If Frankenstein was the birth of horror, well, The Bride of Frankenstein, it perfected it. Whale returns with just more wit, more style, and even more humanity. Karloff's monster evolves, he learns some speech, and he's yearning for companionship, while Colin Clive's Frankenstein is consumed by his obsession. The bride herself, she has less screen time than her legend suggests, but Elsa Lanchester's performance and Jack Pierce's design, just created an icon of horror. Her rejection of the monster is just devastating and cementing the film's tragic power. It's darkly funny, deeply gothic, and surprisingly moving. Bride of Frankenstein is not just the best Frankenstein film. It's easily one of the greatest horror films ever made. Cult fans, critics, and even casual viewers all agree this is lightning in a bottle, and it struck twice. That's the tour of all dwellers that kept Shelley's nightmare roaring and lumbering. We'll be back with more October essentials, wolves baying, mummies unwrapping, and maybe a few surprises skulking behind the armoire. But until then, keep it weird, folks.
Dirty word! He said a dirty word!
Oh, sounds like... to give!
Give! Give him a sedative!
Oh, Tim! Sedative!
On the nosy!